On today's episode of Watch Jericho, we are here in the garage with my $1,500 Nissan 350Z that we're going to try to make into a drift car. Also, it doesn't run at all. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jericho, and today we are here in the garage, like I said, with my 2003 Nissan 350Z that came with two engines for $1,500. You can see the other engine sitting right over there. That one's free. This one is very seized up, as you saw in the last video. I tried to stand on the ratchet that was on the crank pulley there. No go. Doesn't move one bit. So today, what we're gonna start with, I went ahead and put the quick jacks under it last night because it's kind of a process. You have to jack the car up, and of course this thing had been stanced out, which is unfortunate. And you had to put the jack under the sway bar mounts just so I could lift it enough to get the quick jacks under it so I could lift the car. But now, the car is in the air, as you can see, and it's much easier to work on. And then I was like, I gotta get these wheels off. How am I gonna do that? Well, luckily a few weeks ago, I hopped on Amazon and bought this universal wheel lug remover kit for security stuff. It has basically every single lug socket there is, so you can get rid of junk like this. These are an internal spline right there. You can really see what they look like, and this one fits it. And since I can get them off, one of my friends reached out last night when I posted a picture and said, I've got the stock 18s. And I was like, I'll trade you right now for free. So these tires are basically gone. The inside's pretty shot. He said he's got basically brand new tires on stock wheels. Stock wheels, incredibly strong. I said, bring them over, let's trade. So we're gonna rip these off right now and trade them out for some stock 350Z or 370Z wheels. What up, man?
What's going on, bro?
Oh, not too much. You got some wheels in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. The factory 18s.
Yes,
How's it going, dude?
Good, man.
Haven't seen you in a bit.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while.
You want to check out these wheels?
Yeah, for sure.
We got 3 different tires. We got a Pirelli Acani and some, what are those, Nittos or something?
No, they're the, gosh, what are they called? The Achilles.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
the perfect drift tire.
Yeah, so the 2 back ones are the Achilles. I had 2 Pirellis, but one blew out, so I got to use Conti, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell it's used. It's like trash inside.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if mine will.
Yeah, it probably needs universal lug nuts because these are so risky.
Yeah.
I got all the wheels off this thing. Yep, those are very loose. I am excited about the stock wheels. I love those things. I'm sure quite a few of you remember when I de-stanced that Scion XB and how much of a nightmare that car was. Well, this, I don't think it's any better. This one's just as bad. So coming along here, inside this wheel well, of course, we found the anti-rattle clips are all jacked up for that brake pad there. The wheel well liner is, ruined and kind of hanging out. These are max speeding rods coilovers, and they are completely trash. Some of the comments thought they might be ISRs. I can basically guarantee you they're not, because I think the ISRs would hold up slightly better. But if you take a look inside here, I mean, just look at how rough those bad boys are. They are toast, and there's no way we'll be able to raise and lower the car. And coming around to the back, of course, where we just pulled off these wheels and tires, I found the reason all that brake dust and metal was all over those old wheels, and actually the bumper itself. So this one looks kind of okay. You can see that coilover is completely trash. There's no way that collar is gonna move up and down that. It's basically just a solid chunk of rusted out metal at this point. And now the fun one, the passenger rear here. Take a look at what's left. It's kind of tough to see. Basically just a knife edge of the rotor is all that's left. And you can see the rotor is actually broken through on all those holes. This is why you don't do drilled rotors. Slotted rotors are really the only answer, but these things broke so far down that you can just kind of punch through the metal, and that's what the brakes themselves have been doing. Another coilover with a split, that is a split body right there, literally trash. So that's no good. And now that we've seen all the suspension, it's time for the deep, dark secret that I found last night once I got this thing in the air. And it's bad. It is really bad. So this is another stance thing. I found it twice. The subframe on the XB was not good in any way. The subframe on this is destroyed, and it's all been cut. This wasn't like torn in half or anything. This was sawzawed apart. So here's the subframe, and as you can see, look at those, that's where the pipe used to be. That's the other end of it. There's part of it. There's that other part of it. They're that far apart and just ruined. The subframe itself has been ripped out of the rack there. You can see the metal is all like folded over. So that's not good. And then of course over here it's been ground off and then cut. You can see how that's cut there. Kind of tough to show, but and then the exhaust of course has been 100% crushed all the way down. Sorry about the scan lines, it's the LED light. And then the flex couplers for the exhaust, as you can see right there, also ruined, and those are the worst welds I've ever seen in my life. What is that square tubing holding those together? And more exhaust that's been just absolutely drugged down the road. There you have it, the entire subframe is trash. I don't know how far back I'm gonna have to go to get this off, but I think I might kind of need to drop it all. So we're gonna start by getting the engine out of it, and I hit up Orlando and he was like, you can come get all the parts off that G35. And I was like, sweet. So at least we have parts availability to put this thing back together. Now that we've got new wheels and you guys have seen the deep dark secrets this car has been hiding, it's time to get the engine out. We're gonna engine swap it no matter what. So I think what's left here that's really obnoxious is the power steering pump. I could either pull this line and make a big mess, or I could pull the belt and put the power steering pump over there, and that just kind of gets it out of the way and it doesn't have to come off any further. I've got to get the suction line from the AC compressor off because the rest of it's all been disconnected. Usually you just pull the compressor and like put it over here and that would free everything up. But since it's already halfway off, we'll just continue doing it that way. After that, the exhaust bolts, at least most of the front end of this thing's out. And of course the ECU has been pulled out from the interior. We gotta unhook everything on the transmission. The bell housing bolts on the transmission, not too bad back there. The problem is it's all nasty and just covered in oil. And then after that, on the exhaust, I might just have to cut it all. As you guys saw, it's all trash. Like it was very, very, very poorly built. So we'll get started on the front end here and work our way under the car. And when it comes down to it, I might just get the Sawzall out and destroy the whole exhaust, because I do have new exhaust all the way back. I've got the test pipes, I've got the test down pipes, I got the Y pipe, and that gets me almost all the way back to the good part of the exhaust in the car, and we could leave the mufflers. I would like to leave mufflers on the car because they're loud. They're very loud once you go catless. So the nuts for the engine mounts are off, they're right there, they're 17s. And then the 14s on the exhaust, I've got one of those off so far, and the others I went ahead and soaked with a little knocker loose there, which is my secret for getting that rusted junk off. And I think the secret's working because one came off. I figured that they'd all have to be torched off, but so far, we're 1 for 1. So we'll see if I can get the rest of those out, and then all that's left is the bell housing, because as you can see here, this is all the wiring to the transmission. I just climbed under, pulled all of that. You gotta be careful and get all these clips off and all that good stuff, but progress. That means the crank position sensor and all that fun stuff that's back there. Maybe it's like a clutch position sensor, I don't know. It's hanging out on the back of the bell housing there. Got that off too. So all of the wiring is stripped, got the grounds. That's a chassis ground, another chassis ground, those are all off. I think every single thing is off the engine now, including the heater core right there. So, in reality, we could put a strap around this and start lifting if we were taking the transmission and the exhaust, but I'm gonna try to get the rest of the exhaust off and the bell housing bolts, and let's get this thing out. Well, I had to stop for a minute. My luck ran out on the exhaust bolts. I've got 2 off of that side and 2 off of that side. But the bottom ones, come on, Nissan. So one of them, that one over there, spun. So I went to O'Reilly's and I picked up this bolt extractor set. This is the 13 one, which I think will fit. If not, the 14 one will definitely fit. We're gonna get that one off because the impact can actually reach it. And this one was being a nightmare. It's more of an accessibility thing. It's not stripped. So I bought this giant 1/2 inch, 2 3/8 inch extension. And this means I don't have to run that adapter anymore, and I can just stick the giant impact on there. So hopefully that will reach in there all the way back to that bolt, because that one just doesn't line up with anything. And hopefully the big impact can just rip that thing apart. As you can see right now, I'm basically running a homemade version of that that's a lot shorter. So that's a 1/2 inch to the 1/2 to 3/8, everything in one. That is what I'm talking about. Once I put the extractor on there, it took the stud straight out of the exhaust. So that was definitely the quick fix, and it saved me a ton of headache. I mean, I don't have an acetylene torch, so it's really hard to do this stuff. I've got a MAP gas torch. We can try to heat up bolts, but you really want a nice oxyacetylene torch to do this. And I just don't have room for that. 2 victories in a row. I was never expecting this to work, but another stud ripped right out of the exhaust. I am super happy about that. Look at this. The impact is hanging. I had to remove the AC compressor just to get to that bolt. There's really no other way, because you can't get enough torque on it. I tried to ratchet wrench. You'd have to put a pipe on that, and there's no movement, there's no swing from any of those. So this was the only way, and I love how the impact is just chilling there. That runs all the way under the header, and then there's a swivel, and then there's a deep 14 3/8 drive. That was my trick for the exhaust without having to get under it with a torch. So it worked right out. I mean, I touched the trigger and done. So I'm down to one major holdup here. I'm gonna show it to you guys right now. Is, of course, that bent up subframe is making things impossible. So there's 2 bolts on the bottom of the transmission. This is the engine, there's the transmission. 1 bolt is there, 1 bolt is there. Those were supposed to be access holes. Now they're fully inaccessible because all this is crushed, and I need to get this thing out of the way. But I can't get it out of the way because I can't get that bolt out. So I've been beating on it, and I got it to bend down just a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to move to a sledgehammer and try to flatten that back out so I can pull out that bolt. But this whole thing is quite the nightmare, and I'm kind of thinking about just taking the cutoff wheel and eliminating it. Because obviously it's gonna get replaced, so the cutoff wheel's kind of a fix, and it'd be so much faster than messing around with this like I have been. There's what's left of that subframe that like locates the K-member on the body. I only had to cut that 1 tube because all the rest were trashed, and then cut through the entire thing because you can't get the bolts out. So now I can access the bolts on the bottom of the car. We're gonna get those out, and that should be the end of it. What are you doing back there? Anyway, here we are. We got all the bolts out of this thing. It just took a few more seconds with the big impact and a 17. Make sure you have a swiveling 17. It makes your life very easy. So now we're gonna take the ratchet strap off that engine, put it around this one, really just on the intake, I guess, because that appears to be how everyone lifts these things, and rip it out of there. It is completely free, so all we should have to do is get in there with the pry bar, give it a couple of yanks, get the dowels off, and it should be out. Go down a little bit?
Well, I think you're pinched on the trans because it's...
Oh, it's free, dude. That thing is like super free.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I'm actually a little concerned at how much the rear is moving.
The rear of the car?
Yeah, the whole car. I'm gonna put the jack into the back. Well, Eric and I made quick work of getting this engine out. It was just, you know, the usual, a lot of prying and wiggling. And it looks like this is some sort of aftermarket clutch. I can't really read anything on it, but that looks like a really nice machined surface on the flywheel there. Is that like a dual mass flywheel too? If you guys know what that clutch is, let me know, because I do think it's probably aftermarket. It looks really nice. And now we've got a big hole here with a lot of cleaning that needs done. The whole K-member's got to come out. All that stuff's got to come out and get replaced with the spare parts from that G35 that was over there at Orlando's. He said, come get all those parts, and I was like, awesome. So we're actually going to steal some brakes from him too to fix the brakes that are literally gone. And that should take care of my 350Z's deep dark secret, which was really unfortunate. This was gonna be super easy, but now it's turned into quite a bit more work. But hey, we're 1 day in and we're making good progress. A couple more days and we should have this thing all knocked out. Man, there's bolts down there, they're just missing. Somebody's definitely been in here messing around before. And next up, I think the entire next video, we were gonna do this in one, but I think I'm gonna spend all of that time doing the valve covers and the plenum spacer and all the other stuff that needs to go on this engine, water pump, belts, all that fun stuff. Then we'll get this back in the car and it'll be back on the road. So I planned on drifting tonight, but that's not gonna happen because we gotta do this right. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to Eric for helping. And don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com where you can get cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you wanna do. And I will talk to you next time. You like my new wheels? I made an O'Reilly's run and got good lug nuts instead of the internal drive. I kind of like these spline ones. They're not.
You don't want the expanded lug nuts.
No, you do. You do not want the expanded lug nuts.
Wrong move.
But those work pretty good. And the reason I really went to these is because they cost less than the OEM ones, basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to the spline drive, they work, and honestly, they seem like they work pretty well. They never seem to strip.
That's good.
So that's good. Unbolt this clutch. Oh, and I gotta go get.
All we need is the pressure, the tire cut, or the
TPMS?
Yeah, TPMS covers or whatever.
Does this even have? I don't know if this car has TPMS.
No,
it's pretty early.
Not, but you just need the valve covers that have the blue flickering lights on them.
Yeah. That way when we're driving, we can make circles on our tires.
Yeah, I'm sure O'Reilly's carries it.
And also, I think I bought the universal clutch alignment tool, and I'm pretty sure it's in the cabinet of specialty tools. Ooh, I wonder. It might be this. Clutch alignment tool set. Good deal. I've been buying specialty tools, and I can't wait to have a cabinet soon that's just nothing but all of the specialty tools to do every job, like every shop has. So we can align that clutch. I was a little concerned.